In the small village of Green Hollow, everyone knew Tom. He was the baker who ran the village's only bakery. Every morning, before the sun even rose, Tom would wake up early to bake bread. He had a little shop near the village square, where the sweet smell of fresh bread would fill the air. The villagers loved his bread, and many of them came every day to buy it. Tom's life was simple. He didn't own much. His bakery wasn't big, and it didn't have anything fancy. But Tom didn't mind. He was happy. He had enough to eat, a warm bed to sleep in, and friends who would stop by to chat while they bought their bread. He always smiled, no matter how busy he was. The best part of Tom's life was his work. Baking bread made him feel peaceful. He loved the soft dough between his hands, the warm oven, and the way the bread smelled when it was ready. Despite his happiness, there was one person in the village who didn't feel the same way. Tom's younger sister, Maya, often visited him at the bakery. Maya was different from Tom. She was always looking for something more. She loved the bakery, but she wasn't satisfied with just baking bread. She wanted more. She wanted a big house, more money, and a life full of luxury. One day, Maya walked into the bakery with a frown on her face. "Tom, we can't keep living like this," she said. "This small bakery, this tiny shop, it's not enough. We should have a big house with many rooms. We should be rich. And everyone should know who we are." Tom looked at his sister and smiled softly. "Maya, we have what we need. We have food, health, and happiness. What more could we want?" Maya crossed her arms. "But that's the problem, Tom. We deserve more. Look at Mr. Thompson's store. It's so big. He's so successful. Why can't we be like him?" Tom didn't understand. He was happy with his life. But Maya wasn't satisfied. She wanted more, and nothing seemed to make her happy. One afternoon, Maya decided that she couldn't wait any longer. She came to Tom's bakery with a plan. "Tom, we need to go to Mr. Thompson," she said. "He's been successful for years. He knows how to make money. He will tell us what to do. We can be just as successful as him." Tom wasn't so sure, but he loved his sister and didn't want to upset her. So they walked together to Mr. Thompson's store. Mr. Thompson was an old man, wise and respected by everyone in the village. His store was much bigger than Tom's bakery. He sold everything, from food to tools. His store was always busy, and he seemed to have all the answers. When Tom and Maya entered the store, Mr. Thompson was sitting behind the counter, reading a newspaper. He looked up and smiled. "Ah, Tom and Maya. How are you both today?" he asked. "We're doing well, Mr. Thompson," Tom said, smiling back. "But Maya wants to talk to you about something." Maya immediately spoke up. "We want to be successful like you, Mr. Thompson. We want a bigger bakery, a big house, and more money. Can you give us some advice? How do we get everything we want?" Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, folding his newspaper. He looked at Maya, then at Tom, before speaking slowly. "Well, Maya, success takes time, and sometimes wanting too much can cause problems. If you're patient, work hard, and appreciate what you have, everything will come at the right time. But be careful what you wish for. Wanting too much can change your life in ways you don't expect." Maya wasn't convinced. "But we want more now. We deserve it. If we wait too long, we might miss our chance." Tom felt torn. He understood Mr. Thompson's advice, but he also saw the excitement in Maya's eyes. He didn't want to disappoint her. "We'll think about it, Mr. Thompson," he said. As they walked back to the bakery, Maya kept talking about how they could make their business bigger and more successful. Tom couldn't help but wonder if she was right. Maybe he had been too content with his small bakery. Maybe it was time for a change. The next day, Tom and Maya talked again about Mr. Thompson's advice. Tom was still unsure, but Maya was determined. She wanted a bigger bakery, and she wasn't going to stop until they had one. "Tom, we can't keep living like this. We can have more customers, more money, and even a bigger house," she insisted. After much thought, Tom finally agreed. "Okay, Maya. If it makes you happy, we can ask for a bigger shop. But remember, Mr. Thompson warned us that bigger things come with bigger responsibilities." Maya's eyes lit up with excitement. "Don't worry, Tom. It'll be worth it." Tom went to Mr. Thompson again to tell him about Maya's decision. Mr. Thompson listened carefully, then nodded slowly. "If that's what you want, Tom, go ahead. But remember, once you ask for a bigger shop, you'll have more work. Be careful what you wish for." Tom nodded, feeling uncertain. But Maya was so excited that he couldn't say no. The next day, they opened a much bigger bakery. The new bakery had large windows, beautiful decorations, and a bigger space for more customers. People from other villages started visiting, and business grew quickly. Tom's bakery was no longer just a small shop. It was the talk of the region. But with all this success came new challenges. At first, Tom was happy with the success. The bakery was busy, and people came from far and wide to buy his bread. But soon, Tom realized that running the bigger bakery was harder than he thought. He had to wake up earlier, bake more bread, and work longer hours. He had less time to relax and enjoy his life. Maya, however, wasn't happy. She wanted more. "Tom, this is just the beginning. We need to open another shop in the next village. We need to be known everywhere." Tom tried to explain that they had enough. "Maya, we have a good bakery, and people are happy. That's enough for me." But Maya wouldn't listen. "You don't understand, Tom. We need more to truly succeed. We need to open more shops, sell more bread, and get even richer." The days passed quickly, and Tom's bakery became more and more successful. People came from nearby villages, and even travelers from distant towns stopped by to taste the famous bread. Tom worked harder than ever, baking more bread and staying in the bakery long into the night. He barely had time to eat, sleep, or rest. Maya, however, was never satisfied. She wanted even more. "Tom, this bakery is doing well, but we can't stop here. We need to open shops in other villages. Think about how famous we could be. We could have bakeries in every town," she said with excitement. Tom tried to explain his feelings. "Maya, I don't want to get too busy. I love the bakery, but I don't want it to take away everything we have. We need to keep things simple." But Maya was determined. "Simple is fine for now, Tom, but we need to grow. If we don't do it now, we might miss our chance." Against his better judgment, Tom agreed to open more shops. Maya pushed him to open one bakery in a village to the north. Then she wanted to open one in a town to the south. Soon, they owned bakeries in 3 different villages. The business was expanding rapidly, but so were the problems. Tom found himself exhausted. The more shops they opened, the less time he had to enjoy baking. His mornings started before the sun rose, and his nights stretched long into the evening. There was always something that needed to be done. New recipes to try, staff to hire, and customers to serve. Maya, on the other hand, was never satisfied. She always wanted more. "We can't stop now, Tom. We should have 5 shops, maybe even 10. The more we have, the more people will know us." Tom felt worn out. He had started the bakery because he loved baking. He wanted to bring joy to people with his bread, but now it felt like a never-ending job. He began to miss the days when the bakery was small and quiet, when he could spend time with the villagers, hear their stories, and enjoy the simple pleasures of baking. But Maya wouldn't listen. She wanted to be rich and famous, and she wouldn't stop until they had everything. The more they expanded, the more Tom began to feel the weight of their choices. They had opened shops in several villages, and now Maya wanted to open a huge bakery in the city. Tom was tired, but Maya was so excited. She promised him that the city would bring them even more success. "In the city, we'll be famous, Tom. We'll be the biggest bakery in the whole region," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Tom wasn't sure. The city was big, and there were already many bakeries there. It wouldn't be easy to compete. But Maya's enthusiasm made it hard for him to say no. "All right," he said reluctantly. "But this time, I want you to promise me that we won't forget what's really important." Maya promised, and they opened the biggest bakery they had ever dreamed of. It was huge, 4 times the size of their largest village shop. It had beautiful decorations, new ovens, and plenty of space for customers. At first, it seemed like a great decision. People in the city lined up to buy their bread. Business was booming. But soon, Tom realized that the city bakery wasn't as easy as he had imagined. There were bigger, more established bakeries in the city. The competition was fierce. And with the larger bakery came more staff to manage, more ingredients to buy, and more customers to please. The city bakery wasn't the dream they had hoped for. The competition made it harder to keep customers. Tom found himself working even harder. He hardly saw Maya anymore, as she was always busy with the new bakery's challenges. The work was overwhelming, and Tom felt more tired than ever. Meanwhile, Maya was still pushing for more. "We can't stop now, Tom. This city bakery is just the beginning. We need to open more in other cities. Think of how much money we'll make." But Tom was exhausted. He was no longer enjoying the bread-making process. The joy he had once felt in his small bakery was gone. He missed the quiet mornings, the simple pleasure of making bread for the village, and the calm, peaceful days. As the days went by, Tom and Maya began to realize that the more they expanded, the less they enjoyed their lives. Their personal lives began to fall apart. Tom couldn't sleep. He was always thinking about work, new recipes, staff issues, customer complaints. The bakery that had once brought him joy now felt like a heavy burden. Maya, too, was unhappy. She was always pushing Tom for more, but no matter how many shops they opened, it was never enough. "We need to be the richest bakery in the region, Tom. We need to have more than anyone else," she said, her voice full of frustration. Tom didn't know what to do. He missed the old bakery, the simple life they had once shared. He remembered what Mr. Thompson had said, "Be careful what you wish for." But it was too late. They had opened too many shops, and now they were struggling. The city bakery wasn't bringing in enough customers, and the other shops weren't making as much money as they had hoped. Tom felt like they had lost everything. They had so much, but they didn't have what really mattered: peace and happiness. One evening, Tom sat alone in the city bakery, staring at the empty counters. He was tired, sad, and frustrated. He missed his small bakery in the village. He missed the simple life they had once had. He decided to go back to Mr. Thompson for advice. Maybe the old man could help him find a way out of this mess. Mr. Thompson listened quietly as Tom explained everything that had happened. "I thought I wanted more, Mr. Thompson, but now I realize I had everything I needed in my little bakery. I missed the peace, the joy of baking, and the happiness I had when things were simple. Mr. Thompson nodded. You are right, Tom. It's not about how much you have, but how much you enjoy what you have. Sometimes, when we chase after too much, we lose sight of the things that really matter. Tom decided that it was time to go back to the village. He told Maya that they needed to sell most of their bakeries and return to the village where it all started. We've lost so much, Maya, but if we go back to the village, we can start fresh. We don't need to be rich or famous. We just need to be happy. Maya was hesitant at first. But Tom, we've worked so hard. We can't just give up now. Tom smiled softly. We haven't given up. We're just going back to where we belong. After much thought, Maya agreed. They sold most of their bakeries and returned to the village. The villagers were happy to see them back, and life returned to its peaceful pace. Tom reopened his small bakery, the one he had started with. It was simple, with a cozy oven and a small counter. The smell of fresh bread filled the air, just like it used to. Tom baked bread every morning, and Maya helped. At first, she was still unsure. She had dreams of opening more shops, but slowly she began to appreciate the simple joys of life. They no longer chased after wealth or fame. They had everything they needed. The villagers came back to buy bread, and life returned to normal. Tom smiled again, and Maya was content. She had learned that happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from enjoying what you already have. As time passed, Maya's heart changed. She no longer dreamed of having more shops, more money, or more fame. Instead, she learned to enjoy the simple life with Tom in the little bakery. They didn't become rich, but they were happy, and that was enough. Tom and Maya worked together in the bakery, and though they never became famous, they found peace in the simple things. They realized that true happiness comes from appreciating what you have, not from constantly wanting more. And so, Tom and Maya lived happily ever after, baking bread and sharing their joy with the villagers, content with the life they had.